Welcome to this deep dive. We're digging into Kingsoft Corporation's 2024 annual report today.
That's right.
Think of this as, well, your guide to understanding their performance last year and where they're headed.
Now, there's a lot packed into these reports.
Exactly. We're going to focus on their main businesses, what the numbers are telling us, and, how they plan to keep creating value. Annual reports can be dense, right? So our goal here is just to pull out the key insights for you, make it make sense.
Absolutely. And Kingsoft's 2024 story, it really seems to be about expansion and leveraging technology, particularly AI. You see it in their strategy and definitely in the results.
Okay, so where should we start? The business segments?
Sounds good. Let's
Yeah.
break down how the different parts are doing.
Right, so Kingsoft's got the Office groupthink, WPS Office, and then their online games business. Let's start with Office. The report talks a lot about a user-first approach. What does that mean in practice?
Well, it seems to boil down to constantly tweaking and improving their products. A big thing they highlighted was the WPS domestic individual business,
Okay.
hitting over 100 million daily active PC users. That was by the end of 2024. That's a pretty huge number.
Wow, yeah, 100 million daily.
Right. It shows they're connecting with users. And a big part of that seems to be their push into AI.
Ah, the AI angle.
Yeah, they keep iterating on WPS AI. They launched this WPS AI assistant. It feels like they're trying to make AI less intimidating, more accessible for regular users.
So lowering the barrier to entry for AI tools makes sense. And this isn't just a domestic play, is it? They mention overseas markets, too.
Exactly. They're prioritizing what they call high-value regions, and they're not just translated, they're adding specific features, sort of value adds, to appeal to those markets.
Tailoring the product.
Right. And for their bigger clients, their institutional customers, the WPS 365 upgrade is pretty significant.
How so?
Well, it bundles WPS Office, WPS Teams, their collaboration tool, and the WPS AI Enterprise Edition all together.
Ah, like an all-in-one AI office suite for businesses.
Pretty much a one-stop shop. And they're doing something similar for the government sector, too.
Oh, yeah.
They launched a specific Kingsoft government office model and a WPS AI government edition. So again, tailored intelligent solutions for, public sector needs.
Very targeted.
And it ties into this broader push within their software business for software legalization and domestic adoption, helping government and businesses with their digital transformation securely.
Building that foundation in key industries like finance, energy.
Exactly. Building secure, sort of self-sufficient digital workplaces.
Yeah.
Looking ahead to 2025, they want to deepen AI use, strengthen WPS 365, and keep expanding globally.
Okay, quite a bit happening on the Office side. Let's switch over to online games. The report said outstanding growth, record new users in 2024. What drove that?
Well, a big piece seems to be JX3 Online. Did they manage to integrate it across different platforms? And that apparently really got players excited again. The whole JX3 world, the IP, seems to be thriving, even pulling in younger players.
So the classic titles are still performing well.
Definitely. And World of Sword Origin, another one of their classics, is still going strong. Very stable player base.
But they're not just relying on the old favorites, right? I saw mention of Snowbreak, Containment Zone. That's different, an anime shooter.
Yeah, that's them stepping into a new genre. It seems to have had some initial success.
How'd they manage that? New genres are tough.
It sounds like careful positioning, lots of updates based on what players were saying, and really engaging with the community.
So listening to the players.
Seems like it. It's always a bit of a gamble, but it looks like it's starting to work out. So for games in 2025, it's about focusing on these key titles, but also trying new things, aiming for high-quality games.
Okay, that covers the business segments. Let's get into the financials. You said the results were strong. What are the highlights from, say, the income statement?
Yeah, the top line, revenue, that went up nicely. To RMB 10,317.9 million in 2024. That's up from about 8.5 billion in 2023.
Decent jump.
And gross profit followed RMB 8,580.5 billion compared to about 7 billion previously. But the really striking figure is profit before tax.
Okay.
That more than doubled. It went from RMB 1,488.9 billion in 2023 to RMB 3,131.3 million in 2024.
Wow, okay. Doubled. That's pretty significant growth. What's behind that, do you think?
It really suggests that those strategies we talked about, the Office user growth, the AI features maybe driving better monetization, The success in games that are hitting the bottom line.
Right. The strategy's paying off financially.
Exactly. And profit for the year reflects that too, up to nearly RMB 2.8 billion from about 1.2 billion.
And earnings per share?
Also way up.
Yeah.
Basic EPS went from RMB 0.36 to RMB 1.16, so more than tripled.
Okay, very strong profit growth. What about the balance sheet? Does it look healthy?
Yeah, it looks pretty solid. Total assets are up a bit, around RMB 38.3 billion. Liabilities are also up slightly, about RMB 9.9 billion.
So what's the debt situation like?
Well, their asset-liability ratio is still only 26%. That's quite conservative, suggesting they're not over-leveraged.
Okay, manageable debt.
Very manageable. And what's really noticeable is their cash position. They have cash and bank deposits of RMB 23.8 billion.
That's a lot of cash.
It is. It's like 62% of their total assets.
Yeah.
That gives them a massive cushion and a lot of flexibility for investment or, weathering any storms.
Right, flexibility is key. And what about cash flow from operations? Is the core business generating cash?
Yes, the report indicates positive net cash generated from operating activities. It means after accounting for non-cash stuff and working capital changes, the actual business operations are bringing in cash.
Which is what you want to see.
Absolutely. It shows the business model is fundamentally working. They did mention some foreign currency risk because they hold a fair bit of cash in non-RMB currencies, about 4.8 billion RMB equivalent. And they noted there aren't really cost-effective ways to hedge that right now, so something to keep an eye on.
Okay, so strong profits, solid balance sheet, good cash flow. Now, how are they returning value to shareholders? Dividends, usually.
Yep. They have a dividend policy where the board considers, profits, outlook, cash needs, all that stuff.
Standard practice.
Right. And for 2024, they proposed a final dividend of 15 Hong Kong cents per share.
How does that compare to last year?
It's a small increase from HK dollars and 14 cents in 2023. It totals about RMB 185.6 million. Still needs shareholder approval at the AGM, of course.
So a slight bump up. Consistent, at least.
Exactly. Signals a willingness to return cash. Beyond dividends, they also mentioned share-based compensation.
Right. Paying employees with stock options or rewards. How does that help shareholders?
Well, the idea is it aligns employee interests with shareholder interests. If employees have stock, they're motivated to increase the company's value. It's an expense on the books, about RMB 276 million in 2024, but the goal is long-term value creation.
Okay, makes sense. And treasury shares, the report mentioned those too.
Yeah, the balance for treasury shares decreased, which indicates they likely bought back some of their own stock during the year.
Share buybacks.
Right. Repurchasing shares reduces the total number outstanding, which can boost earnings per share and, theoretically, the share price.
So dividends and buybacks are the main routes. What about those convertible bonds they mentioned from 2020? Any immediate impact?
Not right now. As of the end of 2024, none had been converted into shares.
But they could be converted later.
They could. If they all converted, it would create about 89 million new shares. That could dilute existing shareholders down the line. It's just something potential investors should be aware of.
Okay, got it. So putting this all together, the business performance, the financials, the shareholder value plans, what's your overall take on Kingsoft heading into 2025 based on this report?
I'd say the picture from 2024 is pretty positive. You've got momentum in both Office and games. The commitment to AI in Office software seems like a smart bet, and their global expansion plans look ambitious but achievable.
And the financials back that up.
Yet the strong cash position and low debt give them a really solid foundation to pursue those growth plans. They do acknowledge risks, of course, the economy, competition, international politics, the usual suspect.
So always risks.
But their focus seems to be on iterating their products, using technology like AI and trying to meet user needs. It feels like a sustainable long-term strategy.
So a company with established strength that's also pushing into new growth areas like AI and expanding its reach?
Pretty much sums it up. They performed well in 2024 and seem strategically positioned for what comes next.
It'll definitely be interesting to track how that AI integration in Office software develops and how the global push goes.
Absolutely. Which kind of leads to a final thought, maybe for you listening.
Yeah.
As companies like Kingsoft embed AI deeper and deeper into everyday tools like Office software, how do you think that's going to fundamentally change how we all work and shake up the whole market for these productivity tools in the next few years? It's a really dynamic area, definitely something worth thinking about.